are seriously hurt after being stabbed after the Pride Parade in downtown Fargo yesterday. FM Pride released a statement saying they don't believe it was a targeted attack, but they do say one of the people hurt was a Pride volunteer who helped facilitate in the parade. Fargo police were called to the scene at the corner of Broadway and 4th Avenue North just after 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Police say several people got into a fight where 2 people were stabbed. Now, 35-year-old Michael Hurtu was arrested on 2 counts of attempted murder. Police say he's homeless. The stabbing happened as the FM Pride Parade was wrapping up in downtown Fargo. Police say the stabbing is not believed to be related to the Pride Parade.